What up, fam? Riddles here. Today's the day. The Mighty Death Pop officially drops. Um, I have the album. Um, actually, I have all three versions of it. A friend of mine who pre-ordered it uh, uh, hooked me up with it today. So, um, actually, I just got done listening to it. I'll probably do another uh, video for the bonus disc for the album. Um, right now, I'm just here to talk about the Mighty Death Pop album itself. Um, Overall, I thought it was okay. Um, if I had to rate it, uh, scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably have to give it 7.5. And it normally, if I do an album review, I don't uh, always give it a 10 because there's always room for improvement, no matter who you are as an artist. Um, I gave it a 7.5 because it actually took me a couple times to listen to it, to really get into the whole thing. It was a little bit of a different sound than previous albums. There were a lot of standout tracks. There were some I think they could have done without. I really wasn't digging the intro all that much. And Daisies was couldn't really get into that all that much. But I mean, I guess it'll grow on me after a while. Um, some standout tracks was Night of the Chainsaw. Love that one. Chris Benoit, of course. Uh, people can say what they want. I don't look at it as being respectful or disrespectful either way. Um, you know, ICP is always a group that's going to shock no matter what. You know, they're always looking for ways for people to say, well, "What the hell are they thinking?" or whatever. Uh, the Blasta, love that one. Kickin' had that martial arts karate theme to it, which I thought was pretty cool. Bazooka Joey, that was like one of my favorite songs off this album. Uh, it's got a catchy ass hook to it. Matter of fact, I catch myself singing it. If I'm just sitting around, I'm not doing anything, and I'm not occupied with something, I'll just start singing it in my head, and it gets in there, and it won't go away. Um, Shooting Stars, dissing Chris Brown and all that, which, you know, they have a point about uh, this whole situation with Chris Brown. As far as, he snapped, he beat the shit out of Rihanna, and people are still all over this guy. You know, I'm frankly surprised he still has a career at all after all this. I mean, bottom line, I don't care what your excuse is. You don't beat a woman or anything like that. I mean, that's just not cool. Juggalo Juice, that's my shit right there. Um, that's one of the songs that I've been bumping off and on all day long since I heard the album. Hate Her to Death, I can identify with that. It's basically about being in love with somebody, but they don't want you, they're not in love with you, that kind of thing. And you get to a point where you start thinking, well, if I can't have you, no one can, kind of thing. Scream with Tech Nine and Hobson, I thought that shit was awesome. Tech and Hobson killed it on that track. Hope they do some more work like that again sometime in the future. Ghetto Rainbows, when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know about this. It's too soft. It's too R&B, poppy kind of sound. Uh, but after the listeners, a couple listens, I got into it. It was all right. Uh, when I'm clowning, yeah, that kind of reminds me of my job at the haunted house that I work for, because I do the clown thing. Just some of the stuff they're talking about in there, it kind of reminds me of me and my persona when I'm there. Uh, Dog catchers, the dog the bounty hunter disc. I was kind of expecting that at some point, because all the allegations about him being a racist. There was even a thing a while back. I forgot where it was. Something about he hates juggalos or something like that. So, yeah, I was kind of expecting that at some point. Daisies, couldn't really get into that. Maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know. Um, where's God? Um, I can almost promise you that there's going to be some juggalos that are like hardcore Christians, things like that. Um, and, don't get me wrong. After listening to the Ray Shangri-La, the Unveiling, that's one of my favorite albums ever that they've ever put out. Um, quite possibly my favorite Joker card. Um, but you're gonna get some people that they're gonna say, well, in the Ray Shangri-La, they said the carnival is God. May all the juggalos find him, and then they come out with a song, talking about where's God when bad shit happens and that and the other. And I kind of look at it as it's not really a diss toward God or Christianity or anything like that. When you think about it, it is kind of true. If I consider myself a Christian, I do believe in God. Um, but sometimes some of the things that happen in this world, it does make you think. Well, if he's all knowing and all powerful, and he's around and he can, prevent bad things from happening, why does he let bad things happen? And there again, nobody's born into a perfect situation. You know, uh, there's some that are more fortunate than others, and some that are less fortunate. It's just the way shit's stacked, I guess. Uh, Forever, I love that song. Um, you know, they always try to close it with something meaningful and heartfelt like that, which I do like. It's about being together after forever in Shangri-La, all that, which I dig. They're taking it. They're truly taking it back to the old school way it was. You know, uh, especially in a way, it kind of reminded me of something you would hear on the Ray Shangri-La to a degree, because they're talking about after life, going to heaven, being their friends and homies and family forever. Um, the outtakes, I thought that was funny as hell. Uh, Especially where Shaggy was making all the swamp monster noises at the very end. That shit was funny. Um, yeah, I mean, all in all, I give it 7.5 at least. Um, there was some things they could have done without on the album, I think. The overall story of the album I thought was great. Um, it could have been a little bit better, but it was definitely worth the wait. It was definitely, for the most part, everything I expected it would be. Violent J said we wouldn't be let down, and I wasn't. I truly enjoyed this album. In fact, that's probably all I'll listen to for the next probably month or two straight. But yeah, I'll do another video sometime on the bonus track, the bonus disc for the album. Uh, Covered, Smothered, and Chunked, Freaky Tales, and Extra Pop Emporium. I haven't got around to those yet, but I will. So uh, stay tuned for that. Once again, this is Riddles the Clown in association with Carnival Spirits. I'm out. Peace. Much clown love. Whoop whoop.